Welcome to Antigua. We're standing here in the middle of the Stanford properties in Antigua. Let me just point you out some of the highlights. Over here is the airport. This way is the Sticky Wicket, where there was a bar and restaurant with the cricket ground over there. Beyond that you can just see the roofs of the athletic club, and up above that on the same road is the Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank building, formerly the Bank of Antigua. This is the main bank building. It was opened in 2001. Prior to that, the bank had been in various locations in St. John itself and just up the road here in the buildings at the top of the street. Let's go in and take a tour. As you can see, this is the main reception area with the Stanford International Bank logo. We're going to start by doing the upstairs where the executive suite were. Here we have the main boardroom where the board of directors actually held their meetings. This space here was the executive offices. The vice presidents had offices over here. This was the office originally occupied by Mr. Stanford himself. In later years it was occupied by the president. So this is where the vice president sat. The vice president of compliance, human resources, finance would have all been located in here. Let's move down the hallway. We have records that we brought out from storage for analysis. This is just a small part of the vast volume of records that we have to contend with. Down this end of the building on the top floor, this was largely an accounting function. Accounting clerks here, the manager of accounting there. This office was for internal audit. This was for protocol. The big office on the end here was primarily for dealing with the American Express and other credit cards that the bank issued, dealt with paying those bills and allocating them and taking the funds out of the client accounts. Let's continue on and go back down the stairs. So the space we're going to now is primarily the operations of the bank. This space is where basically all the transactions of the bank were carried out. You can see the phones there which were rounded up from around the building. This was transactions, anything to do with a financial transaction were all done in this space. For example, here's a box that contains bank statements from HSBC and Trustmark and transaction material related to those accounts. Moving on, again another space for accounting clerks set up in sort of bullpen style, and at the end here we have another bullpen type space. This is how that other space at the far end of the building would have looked like with the desks and the chairs. This was for client services, account opening, and those sorts of functions. And now we're going to go back down. This is the back staircase into the basement. And those are the big fireproof doors, because this is where the bulk of the records of the bank was stored. These are more sort of printing, photocopying spaces. Here is the computer servers in this space here. And through here there's a whole bunch of space, mainly used now for storage. We'll just walk through this. So this is primarily a mailroom right now. This is documents and materials taken from individual employees' desks. And here we have more storage, more records. These are individual IBC records for people who invested in Antigua through an IBC. These are the records of the individual IBCs that made investments that are maintained here. Here we have a lot of stationery supplies, along with some other more records of the bank. New CDs, maturity reports as CDs mature and have to be paid out. These records are here. Incoming wire faxes, confirmations, new account checklists, all these records secured by these heavy fireproof doors. This room here is where all the wire transactions were originated from these machines, and instructions to the banks to make payments and transactions on behalf of the clients. And coming this way we have more space, which were either training rooms or storage rooms. Presently this room holds the records of Stanford Trust Company. Myself and Hugh Dixon are also receivers of Stanford Trust. In here we have the intercompany payment records, primarily between accounting for the transactions within the group. While this is STC, we have the same records for the bank, accounting for all the intercompany transactions. Over here we have trade creditor files. Again, this is STC, but we have the same records for the bank. Again, STC records, these are the individual client files for STC. This one, for example, is these are trust companies that were the holders of CDs through STC. And this is the area where most of the records for SIB are held in here. Again, the receiving area. But this is the main records room. Just take a look. This is floor-to-ceiling, fireproofed storage space. This contains the financial records of the bank. You can see here's boxes that deal with the records for December 2006. Up there is December 2008, 2007 in the middle. On top of these files you can see boxes which are labelled hold mail. This is for customers who didn't want their statements sent to their addresses, whether that was a business or home address. And these are all the individual files of the individual account holders. Pull one out. This document, this holds all the documentation of the bank. Here's the signature card, for example. Here's the due diligence report on the entity with other instructions in behind. This shows the individuals and the signing officers, proof of identity, corporate certificate of good standing for this one. So that's what's in these files, and this accounts for all the customers of the bank. We have compliance reports, we have the old trade creditor files, and in here we have the private files of the CFO and the president. And included in here, for example, are things like the bank statements of, in this case, CBG, Credit Suisse First Boston has its accounts in here, and so on. And here are the bank statements from SG Private Banking Suisse SA. So these are the files taken from the CFOs and the President's offices. This is another secure room where things like the seals of the various companies were kept, and other documentation, MF Global account, Barclays Wealth Management, and that's it. And that completes our tour.